Mostly Comics in downtown St. Catharines hosted a meet and greet for the new Fantastic Four illustrator, Leonard Kirk.
I've actually been working with Marvel for, oh goodness, about a decade at least. And I got the call. This is actually, they just decided to renew my contract and said, would you like to take this book? And I said, yes. And that was pretty much it. But yeah, I had been with DC for about 10 or 12 years beforehand, and then Marvel picked me up after that. So I've been with them, like I said, for about a decade.
Now tell us about the first edition of the Fantastic Four that you just put out.
Yep, first issue just coming out. As all first issues are, it's an introduction to what's coming up. It's not quite the typical first issue. You do have some slam, bang, and action, but it's really setting up for a very, very big story. This story arc is going to run for at least 1 or 2 years. And there's a lot of really heavy-duty things that are going to happen with the team. They're going to go through some very, very rough times. And the first issue just kind of sets everything up. It sets everything in motion. It opens right off with Susan Storm, an Invisible Woman, writing in her diary some of the stuff that's, we're basically looking at what's happening at that point. And she's writing about things, how she's feeling so terrible and whatever. We don't know exactly what it's about yet, but we will eventually. Then the rest of the issue is basically just a flashback very previously of everything that will be leading up to that, and that's what we're building up in the first few issues. And then finally, blammo, the big stuff hits, and they have to write it through.
Kim, what does it mean to have Leonard here today in your store?
Well, it's really quite an exciting event. Leonard has been involved in the comic book industry for some number of years, and he's just signed exclusively to Marvel, and he is doing Fantastic Four, which the storyline has come to a conclusion. It's being rebooted at #1, and that's the first comic that Marvel did, Fantastic Four. It's their flagship. The tagline is actually the world's greatest comic magazine, so it's quite a coup for Leonard to be drawing that, and it's really kind of exciting to have somebody of that stature in our humble little store.
Do you have very many events throughout the year like this?
The next thing up would be Free Comic Book Day. That's the first Saturday in May. It gets people in and looking at comics. A lot of the comics are for kids, so it's a good way to introduce people into reading, not just comic books. And it gives fathers and sons something to do together, or fathers and daughters.
Now, what does it mean to come out to events like this and get to meet the fans who are actually enjoying the material that you're working on?
Oh, I always enjoy it. I love stuff like this. I enjoy signing. I like doing sketches. I love meeting people. For me, it's just generally it's a fun time, and it's a lovely excuse to get the heck out of the house. One of the disadvantages to this career, being self-employed, is unless you have decided to rent some studio space or something like that, you're basically just working out of your home, and you're kind of stuck there, especially on really tight deadlines. So it's wonderful to be able to stretch your legs and get around and actually see other human beings.
Fans had a great time at the meet and greet today with Leonard Kirk. And if you missed it, don't worry. You can still meet him at the Niagara Falls Comic-Con later on this year. Reporting for The Source, I'm Bob Bam Pow Romeo.